In tears, she dials a stranger by mistake, discover the life-changing romance that awaits. Sarah wiped the tears from her cheeks, her heart pounding against her ribs like a frightened bird, as she absent-mindedly reached for her phone. The fierce argument at the dinner table still echoed in her mind. Art? You think you can feed yourself with that nonsense? Her father's words cut deep. The weight of Maplewood's expectations pressed against her chest. She needed comfort, the kind her best friend, Mia, always gave her. But as her fingers trembled over the screen, a misdial changed everything. Hello? A low, warm voice interrupted her spiral of despair. Is this? No, I'm sorry. Wrong number, she mumbled, realizing the mistake. But there was something in her voice that stopped him. Wait, are you okay? You sound upset. The voice belonged to Tom, a businessman and war veteran living in Maplewood. His concern sliced through her fog of emotions. I'm just having a rough day, she confessed, her walls crumbling for just a moment. I just had a fight with my family about my future. They want me to stick to the family business, but I dream of being an artist. Art? Tom contemplated, remembering how he felt when he lost the love of his life. You should follow your heart. And just like that, their conversations began to flow like a river spilling over, alive and untamed. With every shared secret, every personal story, Sarah and Tom ventured deeper into their own truths. He spoke of wrestling with single fatherhood, standing firm against townsfolk who questioned his ability to raise his kid alone. Sarah, in turn, peeled back the layers of her own expectations more than just fulfilling her family legacy. These late-night calls transformed her loneliness into an unexpected warmth. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet, just as their bond began to blossom, a simple comment twisted its threads. Tom, attempting to lighten the mood, jokingly hinted at Sarah's hesitance to leave her family's shadow. Yet what he didn't know was how deeply that insecurity ran in her. It throbbed like the pain of an old wound that never quite healed. His jest, in hindsight, was a mirror reflecting her greatest fears. Tom sensed her silence, believing it to be the end of something beautiful, and Sarah's heart twisted, thinking maybe he was right. Their laughter was replaced by an aching tension, thick enough to cut with a knife. As doubt clouded their connection, both stood on the brink of what could be a heart-wrenching decision. Faced with the understanding that their towns scrutinized them, judged them, and crossed their arms in judgment, could they transcend that if the connection faltered? With everything to lose, the stakes had never been higher. Both Sarah and Tom knew they had to choose to step into the terrifying light of possibility, or retreat into the safety of their previous realities. As the phone rang once more, this time would it lead them toward shared dreams or the haunting remembrance of what they jeopardized? The ring echoed in the silence of Sarah's room, piercing through her swirling thoughts. She hesitated, her heart racing. Part of her wanted to let it go to voicemail, to avoid the potential heartbreak that this call could bring. But another part, one that craved connection and understanding, took a breath, picking up the phone with a shaky hand. Hello? The word came out softer than she intended. Hey, it's me, Tom's voice broke through, and warmth washed over her. Just hearing from him sent a spark of hope igniting in her chest. Hi, Sarah replied, her voice steadier now. Look, I know I might have said something that hurt you. I didn't mean to joke about your dreams. It came out the wrong way. I get it, family pressure is tough, he said sincerely. There was no mistaking the gentleness behind his words. Her heart softened. I know you didn't mean it like that. It's just that I feel stuck, you know? Like I'm trapped in a cage made of others' expectations. I want to fly, but I can't find the courage. Courage isn't the absence of fear, Sarah, it's feeling the fear and moving forward anyway, Tom encouraged. We all have cages, in some form or another. Maybe yours is about art, and mine is about being a single dad in a town that judges. They danced around their vulnerabilities, exchanging stories and touching on the unspoken truths that often went unstated. Each revelation pinned Sarah's heart to the hope that blossomed between them, awkward and beautiful. What if we're more than just this? She asked, uncertainty creeping back into her voice. What if you find out I'm complicated? Or worse, what if you like the idea of me more than the real me? Tom paused, the weight of her question hanging in the air. Then let us explore it together. I want to know you, the real you. All of it. His words sent tingles through her body. It felt as if they were standing on a precipice, with the wind daring them to jump. I'm scared, Tom. Me too, he admitted, his tone pulling her in. But maybe that's okay. We don't have to have it all figured out right now. What matters is that we're willing to try. A smile crept across Sarah's face, brightening the corners of her heart. You make a good point. Shall we take the leap then? He asked, the anticipation crackling like electricity over the phone line. Let us do it, she replied, a wave of relief washing over her. As they continued to talk, dreams began to unfurl like petals in spring. Tom shared his aspirations of opening a community center for kids, while Sarah outlined her longing for art shows that echoed her heart's whisper. It felt like they were painting a canvas together, filled with colors of mutual understanding and purpose. But just as their spirits soared, a shadow flickered at the edges of their conversation, a nagging doubt that had yet to be addressed. How would their relationship hold up against the world outside their calls? Tom? Sarah's voice faltered, the fear creeping back into her tone. What happens when the rest of Maplewood finds out? A silence hung, heavy and foreboding. We'll face that together, Tom finally declared, though his voice wavered slightly. The thought lingered, suspended between them, heavy yet full of possibility. How much would they risk for a chance at something real? As their conversation wound down, Sarah could feel her pulse quickening. This was just the beginning, but could they build something beautiful from the ashes of their past fears? Let us keep talking, she urged, the night young before them. Always, he replied, and it felt like a promise. But as Sarah prepared to hang up, a sudden chill washed over her. Was their shared dream worth fighting for, or would the weight of their reality crush it before it could breathe? The uncertainty loomed large, hanging in the midnight air. The next evening, Sarah stood in front of her easel, paintbrush poised above the canvas, but her mind still tangled in the conversation with Tom. The colors were vibrant, but somehow they felt muted. Each swirl of blue and green didn't quite capture the exhilaration she felt the night before. Instead, they reflected the brewing storm of anxiety inside her. What if Maplewood didn't understand? What if she followed her dreams only to lose everything she held dear? With a frustrated sigh, she flung the brush down and stepped back, crossing her arms over her chest. Time slipped away, and before she knew it, her phone buzzed on the table, shattering her thoughts. It was Tom. Hey, she answered, trying to inject some cheer into her voice. Hey! How's the painting going? His interest felt genuine, and it eased some of the tension knotted in her chest. It's not going. She laughed softly, the sound warm but tinged with anxiety. I can't seem to find the right inspiration today. That's okay. Sometimes you can't force it, he reassured her. But maybe I could help. Art with a side of dad jokes, what do you think? The image of Tom attempting to draw while making goofy faces brought a smile to her lips. I'd like to see that. How about this weekend? We could set up a mini art session at my place? Just you, me, and lots of paint. Her heart raced at the idea, excitement mingling with nervousness. That sounds fun. But won't people notice? I mean, what will they think? I'm sure they'll talk no matter what, he replied lightly, but then his tone shifted. At the end of the day, Sarah, what matters is what we think. If it feels right, it probably is. His words struck deep. Okay, she said, her voice gaining strength. Let us do it. Perfect. I'll bring snacks, he added jovially. They exchanged light-hearted banter, the earlier conversation about fears and expectations fading into the background. But the question still gnawed at Sarah. How would they navigate the realities of their entwined lives? As the call wrapped up, a new sense of determination surged within her. She looked at the blank canvas before her, and though it was daunting, her heartbeat pulsed with the challenge. Would she dare to paint her truth? Later that night, thinking of Tom and their plans, Sarah found herself scrolling through social media. A post from her old college friend caught her eye, announcing an art competition for local artists. The theme? Breaking free. Her heart raced. She pondered whether to enter, torn between her passion and the fear of putting herself out there. The prize was a scholarship for a summer art program in New York, something she had always dreamed of, but hadn't dared to voice to anyone. Why not? She whispered to herself, feeling the flicker of hope ignite once more. She had to take the leap. But would she? The weekend arrived quickly. Sarah arrived at Tom's with her bag of supplies and a nervous knot in her stomach. Unpacking next to each other, they laughed and chatted, the air filled with the smell of fresh paint and something sweet baking in the oven. Yet, a haunting question lingered in the depths of her mind. Tom, what if we really are more than just friends? What if this goes somewhere? He paused, paintbrush in hand, the room suddenly quiet. Are we ready for that conversation? Tom finally asked, his eyes searching hers, making Sarah's heart skip. She felt a mix of excitement and fear. Would this conversation change everything? As she opened her mouth to respond, the doorbell rang, interrupting the moment. They exchanged a look, and fear surged anew. Who could that be? She asked, a cold wave crashing over her. I don't know, Tom replied, looking equally worried. As they stepped toward the door, a sense of foreboding settled over Sarah. What awaited them outside? Sarah glanced at Tom, her heartbeat echoing loudly in her ears. The doorbell rang again, more insistent this time. Do you want me to get it? He asked, stepping closer. No, I'll do it, she said, trying to project confidence. She felt as if she was standing on the edge of a cliff, the winds of change whipping around her. Taking a deep breath, she pulled the door open. The moment felt surreal, like a scene from a movie, where the door reveals a twist of fate. Standing there was a figure wrapped in a familiar green hoodie. Her breath caught in her throat. Sarah, the voice was soft, tinged with an emotion she couldn't decode. Ryan? She whispered, disbelief flooding her senses. Ryan was her childhood friend, someone she had lost touch with after they both moved on to different cities after graduation. Tom shifted behind her, concern etched on his face as he took in the situation. Hey! Can I come in? Ryan's eyes fell between Sarah and Tom, sensing the tension. Sarah hesitated. Sure, she managed, stepping aside as Ryan entered. The familiar scent of his cologne sparked old memories, both joyful and painful. I didn't expect to see you here, she said, a mix of warmth and unease swirling inside her. What are you doing in Maplewood? Just visiting family. I saw some of your art online and I wanted to check in. He paused, glancing at Tom. Is this a bad time? No, Sarah said quickly, sensing Tom's distant demeanor. We were just having an art session. She gestured to the easel cluttered with paints. Ryan smiled, a spark lighting his eyes. That's great. I've always admired your work, you know? A shy grin crept across her face, buoyed by his kindness despite the awkwardness of the moment. I think I could use a break, actually, Tom interjected, his tone even, but there was an undertone of discomfort. I'll just, grab some refreshments. Tom, wait, Sarah started, wanting to reach for him, to explain the mix of emotions swirling inside her. But he was already moving toward the kitchen, leaving her to face Ryan alone. Is everything okay? Ryan asked, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Yeah, the word felt empty as she grappled with the uncertainty in her heart. It's just complicated. Complicated how? Ryan took a seat at the table, his curiosity evident. Sarah glanced toward the kitchen where Tom was rummaging through cabinets. As she caught a glimpse of him trying to distract himself, the tightness in her chest grew. She was standing at a crossroads, questioning everything. He's been my rock lately, she finally admitted. But I'm also worried about what more this could mean. I just don't want to ruin what we have, you know? Ryan watched her for a moment, his brow furrowed. Maybe you should just ask him. Right, because that's easy, she scoffed lightly, but beneath that lay a tremor of truth. What if I ruin everything? I think you'll regret it more if you don't try, he responded, a knowing look in his eyes. Sarah felt the weight of his words. The thought of living with hesitation terrified her. She opened her mouth to respond when Tom re-entered the room, balancing a tray laden with snacks. It's all set, he announced, striking a cheerful note. Well, I hope you're ready for some serious helpings, Ryan, Tom said, suddenly playful, but Sarah could see the flicker of defensiveness in his gaze. As they settled into the conversation, Sarah's mind raced. Would she take the leap to express her feelings? Could she really let herself be vulnerable? The laughter flowed around her, a temporary balm for her swirling emotions. But as she glanced between Tom and Ryan, a growing storm brewed within her. She felt like she was standing at the edge of something monumental, a decision that could shift the course of her life. And just like that, the doorbell rang again, slicing through the moment. What now? I'll get it, Tom said, exasperation clear in his voice. But Sarah, already anticipating how this night was twisting, felt a surge of anxiety. What was coming next? Would it push her further down the path of uncertainty or lead her to clarity? Tom hesitated at the door, brow furrowed in confusion. Sarah's heartbeat thundered. Who could possibly be at the door again? She exchanged a quick look with Ryan, both their faces reflecting a mix of curiosity and concern. Let us just see who it is, Tom said, his voice steady but laced with irritation. He opened the door, and Sarah held her breath. This was it, a game-changer, another twist to the unfolding story. Standing on the doorstep was a woman with cascading blonde hair and radiant blue eyes, her face a picture of worry. I'm so sorry to bother you, she began, breathless. I think I have the wrong address, but can you tell me if this is where the Johnsons live? No, Tom replied after a brief pause, still trying to process her sudden appearance. They live 2 streets down. Thank you, she said, relief washing over her. Sorry for the trouble. I was just looking for a familiar face. She turned to leave, but paused, glancing back at Sarah. A flicker of recognition crossed her features. Sarah? Is that you? Sarah squirmed but managed a soft smile. Yeah, it's me. Long time no see, Heather. What are you doing here? Heather asked, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. I didn't know you were back in town. Her friendly smile faded when she noticed Ryan still seated at the table. Oh, and who is this? This is Ryan, an old friend, Sarah replied, hoping her voice sounded casual. She could feel the air thickening as Tom crossed his arms. Well, it's great to see you, Heather continued, her enthusiasm unyielding. I just got back as well. Crazy, right? Ryan, sensing the tension, stood up, extending a hand. Nice to meet you, Heather. Likewise, she said, shaking his hand. Her eyes flitted back to Sarah, then to Tom, who was watching her closely, his expression still tinged with concern. Are you staying long? Heather asked, diluting the brewing tension with small talk. I'd love to catch up. Yeah, I should be around for a bit. Sarah felt a wave of nostalgia, memories of their shared laughter and adventures flooding her mind. Yet the warmth was mingled with uncertainty about the present. Would moments like these continue to feel natural, or unravel the thin facade she was desperately trying to maintain? Heather turned her gaze back on the pair. You know, I'm organizing a little get-together this weekend. Just a few friends from high school. You should come. Everyone will be there. Sarah caught Tom's eye. His gaze was unreadable. I don't know, Heather. Why not? Ryan chimed in, a supportive smile directed at her. It could be fun. Exactly, Heather added, her excitement infectious. It's a chance to reconnect. Life gets too busy sometimes. Tom shifted, discomfort evident as he remained beside the door. Could be a little awkward, he muttered, but not loud enough for Heather to hear. Awkward? Not at all. It'll be just like old times. Heather laughed, her presence breathing freshness into the room. Sarah felt torn. Part of her longed to step back into the warmth of those shared memories with Heather. But another echoed Tom's sentiment, fearing what might surface at such a gathering. What if their unresolved emotions overshadowed the fun? Ryan nudged her gently. Sometimes, old friends help us understand what we really want. The room hummed with possibilities, and Sarah felt a surge of hope. Maybe this was the chance to face her feelings head-on, whether it was about her past, her art, or the man standing beside her. She took a deep breath, her heart racing as she contemplated the invitation. "All right, I'll come," she finally said, surprising herself with her own words. Heather beamed, her excitement permeating the space. "Yes. It'll be great. I'll text you the details." As she stepped out the door, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. She turned back to face Tom and Ryan, both watching her with their expressions mirroring uncertainty. "What do you think?" Ryan asked, a knowing look overshadowing his features. Before she could respond, the phone buzzed on the table, disturbing the fragile atmosphere. It was a message from an unknown number. The words made her stomach churn. "Can we talk?" She quickly glanced at Tom, whose brows knitted together. But what did the message mean? Was it just a coincidence, or was it destiny reaching out to her? The buzzing of the phone lingered in the air, heavy with unanswered questions. Sarah's fingers trembled as she glanced down at the screen again, her heart thudding loudly in her chest. The words felt like a dare, a pull into unknown territory. "Can we talk?" What did it even mean? Tom shifted beside her, his gaze sharp and questioning. "Who is it?" he asked, his voice low, slicing through the thickness of uncertainty in the room. "I don't know," Sarah admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "It's from someone I don't recognize." Should I respond? With a deep breath, she clicked her tongue in thought, considering the weight of the message. Her mind was racing, running wild with possibilities. Was it an old friend in distress? Or perhaps someone who knew her past better than she would like? Ryan leaned closer, his expression a mixture of concern and curiosity. Maybe it's someone looking for reconciliation? Or closure? At that moment, the anticipation in the room shifted. It was as if time paused, suspended between the potential chaos of the unknown and the comfort of staying where they were. Sarah felt the stirring of old insecurities rise up again. Could she really open that door? "If you want to know who it is, you'll have to respond," Ryan urged gently, trying to coax her into action. "Maybe it's best to leave it alone." Tom's voice trailed off, laced with an edge of protectiveness. He crossed his arms tighter, his defensive posture only amplifying Sarah's inner turmoil. This was the crossroads she didn't expect, a choice she didn't feel ready to make. Gathering her courage, she typed out a simple, hesitant reply. "Who is this?" She hit send and watched the screen, her heart racing. The seconds felt like hours. Any response would fuel her imagination further, spiral her deeper into insecurities she thought she had left behind when she made the decision to return home. Just then, the phone vibrated again, and Sarah felt as though a small bird had taken flight in her stomach. She glanced at Tom and then at Ryan, both of them leaning slightly closer in anticipation. "It's," she said quietly, reading the text, and suddenly her heart sank. "It's David." A silence fell over the room, thicker than fog. David, her ex, the ghost of a past she had tried to forget. So many emotions crashed over her, flooding her system with grief, anger, and a hint of nostalgia. Tom's face changed. The shadows of an old hurt crept over his features, a silent reminder of the complicated dynamics that surrounded their history. "What does he want?" Tom asked, his tone strained. "I don't know if I'm ready to find out," Sarah confessed, her voice trembling. "Maybe he just wants to talk," Ryan replied, trying to defuse the tension. "But this is your call, Sarah. You control this. Whatever happens next is your choice." The words wrapped around her like a lifeline, but the chaos in her mind was deafening. Could she revisit her past, face the rubble of their broken relationship? As she stared at the screen, a ringing echo filled the silence, sharp and piercing. The phone began ringing. David's name flashed across the screen. The room felt even smaller. Are you going to answer? Ryan asked quietly, as if every word could alter the future. Tom's expression tightened, worry glimmering in his eyes as he watched her hesitate. Sarah felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. She was teetering on the edge of two worlds, the past that shaped her and the present she was desperately trying to build. Sarah? Tom's voice broke through her thoughts, reminding her that she wasn't alone. With trembling hands, she took a deep breath, contemplating the decision that could change everything. Would she dive into a conversation that might uncover truths she had buried deep, or allow the past to remain past? Finally, with her heart racing, she answered the call. Hello? But what she heard next sent her heart spiraling into chaos. David's voice came through, urgent and tinged with emotion. Sarah, I need to explain. As the conversation unfolded, Sarah wondered if she was ready to hear what he had to say and what it meant for everything she wanted moving forward. Was this the closure she needed, or merely a step back into old wounds? She looked at Tom, who stood there, tension radiating from him like an electric field. How would he react when he learned the truth? Uncertainty hung over them as she braced herself for the conversation, knowing it would push her further into the labyrinth of her choices and could ultimately unravel everything she had worked to rebuild. Can you give me just a moment? Sarah whispered to herself, her throat tight with unshed emotions. Sure, Tom replied, but she sensed the restless energy within him. As she faced the past with apprehension, she couldn't shake the feeling that the next part of her journey was about to unfold in ways she never anticipated. What twists awaited her on the other side of this call? Sarah, I need to explain. David's voice traveled through the phone, cutting through the silence like a knife. It was a voice she had once known well, one that had stirred something deep inside her, both warmth and disappointment. What's there to explain, David? She replied, her voice steadier than she felt. You made your choices, and I made mine. No, please, he pleaded, his tone shifting. Just give me a moment. I've thought a lot about what happened between us. She could hear the tremor in his voice, a raw vulnerability that sparked a flurry of memories she had tucked away, late-night talks, laughter, the promise of a future that now felt so distant. Her heart raced as she glanced at Tom, who stood before her, an unyielding wall of tension and concern. With a sigh, she closed her eyes, summoning the courage to tread where her heart feared to go. Fine. What do you want to say? There are things you don't know, he continued, his voice urgent. Things that changed everything for me. You have to understand. What changed? She interrupted, feeling a surge of anger and pain bubbling to the surface. You disappeared without a word. Silence loomed on the other end, and in that moment she felt the walls closing in. I didn't disappear, he finally said, voice trembling. I was in a dark place. I didn't want to drag you down with me. I thought I was protecting you. A bitter laugh escaped her. By leaving? By shutting me out? Tom's breathing changed, the frustration radiating from him as he crossed his arms tighter, his anxiety palpable. She could feel him behind her, his presence amplifying her internal battle. I didn't want you to see me like that, David shouted, the weight of his regret flooding through the line. I thought it was for the best. For you, maybe. But you didn't care about me at all. If you could just walk away. Sarah, please, listen. This time, Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, fighting back tears. She didn't want to hear this. She didn't want the pain that came with reliving their past. But despite her resolve, a part of her was still curious. The flicker of longing she felt was undeniable. Fine. Speak, she relented, her voice now a whisper. I was dealing with my own demons. David continued, his words pulling her back to the moments when they had shared their struggles, moments that bonded them tighter than she ever wanted to admit. I wanted to reach out, but I was too ashamed. It took losing you for me to realize what I had. She felt her chest tighten. The unspoken truths hung heavy between them, memories intertwined with regret and what-ifs. But could she bear to untangle it all now? Do you think I'm just going to forgive all of it? Do you think it's that simple? I know it's not simple, he said softly. But I'm trying to find a way back. Can you at least let me explain what happened? Before she could respond, Tom stepped forward, his voice brokering through her silence. Sarah, you don't have to do this. You have a life now, Tom, stop. She cut him off, the whirlwind of emotion spilling out. I need to hear him out. You may not understand, but I have to know. As she spoke, she felt torn. The past whispered promises of healing but also echoed haunting scars. She wanted to step forward but feared what standing still might cost her. What do you want from me, David? She finally asked, her voice breaking. David paused, and in that moment of quiet, it felt like the weight of years hung between them. I want to rebuild if you let me. I want to tell you everything, but I also understand if you're not ready to hear it. His honesty both frightened and compelled her. Could she trust him again? Could they really talk about everything? As she teetered on the edge of a decision that could affect the fragile peace she had found, her heart raced with uncertainty. Let me think, she whispered, feeling the gravity of her choices swing like a pendulum. Would she brave the storm of her past, or would she retreat to the safety of her present? As she cast a glance at Tom, who was watching her intently, she realized the path ahead was murky and full of unknowns. Yet, in the back of her mind, a nagging thought lingered. What if this was more than just a conversation? What if this was an opportunity for closure or something more? The air thickened with tension as she contemplated her next move, and in that moment, her heart echoed the question that felt paramount. Was she ready to face the truth that could change everything again? The silence between them hung heavy, almost suffocating. Sarah could feel her heart pounding, each thump echoing her swirling thoughts. She wanted to push David away. She wanted to tell him he had lost his chance. But memories ambushed her, each laugh, each tear shared, the warmth of his embrace. Tell me everything, she finally breathed out, her resolve wavering. Back then, I was spiraling. My life was a mess. I didn't have the tools to deal with it. I hit rock bottom, he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. Why didn't you reach out? The question tumbled out before she could hold it back. Why did you think leaving was better? I thought you'd be better off without the burden, he confessed, his words unraveling a knot of anger inside her. But I was wrong. I don't expect you to understand, but knowing I hurt you, it's the biggest regret of my life. She bit her lip, feeling the sting of angry tears. You didn't even give me a chance to help you. You abandoned me. I know. I made a choice that cost me everything, he replied, anguish punctuating his tone. But I want to fight for us. If you'll let me in, I want to explain how I got lost and what I've done to find my way back. And there it was, that little flicker of hope mixed with fear. She wished she could just switch off her heart, but it had a mind of its own, drawing her in. Why now? She asked, her voice quieter. Why come back now after all this time? Because I've finally found help. I'm better now, at least I'm trying to be. But I can't rebuild this alone. I miss you, Sarah. I miss us. Tom shifted behind her, his presence still protective but now layered with uncertainty. Sarah, think about it. You were finally moving on, Tom, she said softly, but her heart was conflicted. She turned back to David, wishing for clarity. You think it's easy to just pick up where we left off? No, I don't, he replied firmly. But maybe we can start again. A fresh beginning if you want it. The sincerity in his voice resonated deep within her, even as her mind tried to warn her against the pain that had yet to heal. David, she whispered, I don't know if I can do this. Just give me a chance to show you, he said. I owe you that much. As she mulled over his words, she felt herself swaying on the edge of a precipice. What if this was the moment she would regret not taking? What if reopening the door meant inviting back the joy she once knew? But the shadows of the past loomed nearby, calling out her fear, whispering of scars left unhealed. Tom watched her closely, a protective stance still held firm. You don't owe him anything, Sarah. We've built something together. Have we? She didn't mean to sound harsh, but doubt echoed loudly in her words. Both men stood before her, each carrying a piece of her heart. Look, I get that you have a life now, David pressed, desperation creeping into his tone. But I refuse to stand by and let you walk away thinking I've given up on us. I know I don't deserve you, but I believe we can choose, together, to be better. Her mind raced, conflicted like a pendulum caught between two worlds. The thought scared her, but also ignited an ember of courage within. I need time, she finally said, mostly to herself. The tension vibrated between them. David hung on her words as if they held the fate of the universe. And for a moment, hope flickered like a fragile candle flame in the midnight air, begging to be nurtured. Just as she stepped closer to the possibility of what could be, her phone buzzed, a stranger's number flashing on the screen. Who is it? Tom's tone shifted to alert. I don't know, she replied, the ringing blending into her escalating heartbeat. What if I accidentally dialed someone? Answer it. David's eyes were fixed on her, urging her forward into the unknown. Curiosity piqued, she answered, holding her breath as she pressed the phone to her ear. The voice on the other end sent a chill down her spine. Who was this stranger, and how might they change everything once more? Hello? She said, bracing for whatever lay ahead. Hello? Sarah repeated, her heart racing. Silence on the other end, then a sharp intake of breath. Sarah? Is that you? The voice trembled, laced with urgency. Her pulse quickened. Yes, who is this? It's Grace, the woman said, and Sarah felt a jolt of recognition. Grace had been her closest friend in college, before life had pulled them in different directions. But why was she calling now, and why did she sound so anxious? What's wrong? Sarah asked, instinctively looking at David and Tom, their faces tense with curiosity. I don't have much time. I need you to trust me, Grace urged. I've been following up on some things, and I think it's about David. Sarah's breath hitched. What do you mean? I was at a support group last night. I overheard someone talking about how they knew him. It's complicated, Grace stumbled. But I think he might have gotten involved with some really bad people while he was away. There's something he hasn't told you. Her mind reeled. Bad people? What kind of trouble had David been entangled with? The flicker of hope that had sparked moments ago felt snuffed out under the weight of uncertainty. Tom took a step toward her, eyes sharp, as he tried to read her expression. What are you talking about? Why should I believe this? Because I know him, and I know you. He hurt you, Sarah, but I've also seen how he has fought to get better. I just don't want you to be blindsided, Grace urged. I'm sorry to drop this on you, but I couldn't let you step back into something without knowing the truth. David shifted nervously, his eyes darting between the two women. What truth? Grace, what do you know? Just please. Get the details from him, but be careful. If he is still in that world, you don't know what he might do to protect himself, Grace whispered, her voice pleading. I'll talk to him, Sarah whispered, more to herself than anyone. She felt a whirlwind of emotions: betrayal, confusion, anger. I'll help you. Just let me know what you find out. I can be there for you, Grace said, the urgency clear in her voice. Yeah, okay, Sarah replied, though her heart was sinking. Thank you. As she ended the call, the weight of the revelation pressed down on her chest. David, she breathed, her voice shaky. He stepped closer, confusion etched on his face. What did she say? She knows something about you, Sarah managed, her voice trembling. Something that could change everything. Tom's protective stance shifted, now mixed with an anger that bubbled beneath the surface. What did you get involved in, David? What is going on? No, David said, raising a hand in defense. I'm not hiding anything, are you sure? Because I want to believe you, but if Grace isn't lying, she trailed off, the possibility of betrayal stinging her heart. I'm not in trouble, he insisted, desperation creeping into his voice. Please let me explain. So you thought running away was the right choice? Tom interjected, crossing his arms. You didn't just abandon Sarah. Maybe you abandoned yourself, he accused, the glare in his eyes tightening. No. That's not it. David's voice sounded more frantic. I left to protect her from myself, from yourself, or from the life you're trying to hide? Sarah countered, her heart swirling with a volatile mix of hope and fear. Silence filled the space as she searched his eyes, looking for the truth. But all she found was a reflection of her own confusion. Could she trust him? Tell me everything. Right now, she finally demanded, her thoughts racing. I need to know the real you before I decide anything. David opened his mouth to speak, and as the weight of his words loomed in the air like a storm about to break, Sarah knew this conversation would lead to either salvation or heartbreak. But would the truth, the one that could shatter their fragile moment, be enough to bring them back together? As his voice trembled to finally unveil the secrets of his past, Sarah's phone buzzed with a new message. She looked down to see another number, this time from an unknown source. Who could that be now? She wondered, glancing between the two men who held her heart in such different ways. Her hand trembled as she raised the phone once more. What if this call held another revelation, one that could irrevocably define what comes next? Just answer it, Sarah, Tom urged, his voice a mixture of frustration and concern. She glanced at David, who was visibly tense, anxiety etched all over his face. With a breath that felt like it might be the last at the moment, she clicked on the new message. What if they know something too? Her voice was almost a whisper, grinding against the heaviness settling in the room. Don't make assumptions. Just open it, Tom encouraged. His eyes bore into her with unwavering intensity. Fingers shaking, Sarah opened the message, reading it aloud. I know about David. Call me. It was from an unknown number, but something about it gripped her. Her heart raced, mingling with the storm brewing in her thoughts. What does that mean? David's voice barely broke through the noise in her head. I don't know, she replied, her thoughts scattered like wisps of smoke. People talking about you? This is insane. Tom took a step forward, anger radiating from him. You should come clean, David. How can you call this a chance at love while keeping secrets? Wait, I can explain everything, David insisted, desperation seeping into his tone. I'm not hiding who I am from you, Sarah. But this, he waved a hand dismissively, clearly upset at the sudden twist of events. It's not worth ruining any hope we have. It was too much for Sarah. Her pulse quickened, merging excitement with dread. She squeezed her eyes shut and held her breath, fighting tears, wrestling with how overwhelmed she felt. I might not even want what you're offering right now, she shot back, her voice cracking. This is too big, and a wave of resolve washed over her. She was tired of uncertainty, sick of merely reacting, and afraid to step into the choices she needed to face. Look, she said, her voice steadier now, I'm going to call this number. I have to figure out what's happening before I can move forward. Turning toward the kitchen, she grabbed her phone, her heart racing in anticipation. Sarah, don't, Tom cautioned, his concern lacing every syllable. But she couldn't back down. This is my life. My decision. Determined, she dialed the unknown number, the noise around her fading into the distance. This was it, no more hiding. She had to face whatever awaited her on the other end. Each ring echoed in the silence, rhythmically marking the last moments before her fate unfolded. And we're all hoping for rainbows, the voice on the other end said, then added. You're brave for calling. It was a friend of Grace's. Who are you? Sarah's voice shook. What do you know about David? All the feelings leading up to this collapsed in an avalanche. David's gotten mixed up with people who have ties to some, dangerous situations. I just think you should be aware. The gravity of the words bit at her, and in that moment, everything spiraled. I need more, she insisted. This involves my choices, and David's life, her voice surged with urgency. Listen, the voice continued. I can't provide many details, but Grace and I are looking into this, and we have reason to believe there are folks who want to easily let him walk away from it. As the conversation unfolded, Sarah felt waves of disbelief crashing against her. She glanced toward Tom, whose expression swung from protective to worried. David looked defensive but also vulnerable, a complex mix that left her uncertain. Sarah. David's desperate whisper broke her train of thought. I'm not involved in anything anymore. I promise you I'm getting better. All of that is in the past. Past or not, you need to be honest with me now. This is my heart and my future we're talking about, she fired back, her voice rising. I am. David shouted now, frustration splintering through his defenses. I'm fighting to be someone you can trust again. Don't you get it? Tension wrapped around them, filling the air with an electric hum. Every second felt like it would shatter the fragile balance they were clinging onto. Then, a silence fell. It was the kind that invited clarity. Sarah closed her eyes, breathing deeply, trying to center herself amid the chaos. Can we start fresh? The voice on the line asked, breaking her reverie. But the rebuilding has to be real. Moving forward means tackling every shadow, every mistake, together. That's how you'll find healing. A pang of realization shot through Sarah. I see it now. I can't rebuild without honesty. I can't step forward while looking back. I can't let fear supersede my voice. I want to support you, but you have to treat me like a partner, not a secret. I'm realizing that, Sarah. David's eyes softened, genuine. I promise to be honest. I've been trying to live without regrets, and even though it scares me, I want to clear the air. Sarah's heart ached. So what now? She asked, her voice breaking. Tom stepped closer, giving her strength. You decide what matters, Sarah. Don't lose your voice, he murmured, a mix of support and gentle insistence guiding her. I'm not running. But I can't run back to the past either. Your past. She faced David with direct certainty. If we're doing this, it's got to be with every truth laid bare. Then let us take the first step together, David said, hope rising in his voice. I won't hide anymore. And just like that, in the midst of so many layers, the beginnings of reconstruction began to flicker alive. Sarah swallowed her fears, and as the last wisps of uncertainty began to thread together, she realized she was stepping into a new chapter where her heart had to dictate the path. The choice might be the hardest of her life, but it was time to embrace the truth. And she was ready for the journey, for the healing, for the reawakening. Okay, she breathed, feeling the weight lift slowly. Let us do this. But the road ahead needed commitment, and she knew love was more than a feeling. It was a promise that needed to grow every day. Are we ready? Tom asked, glancing between them. Sarah nodded slowly. For the first time in a long while, her heart felt full. Let us find out, she whispered, stepping forward into whatever lay ahead, together. As they stood at the crossroads of uncertainty and hope, she realized that sometimes, the leap into the unknown is where true healing begins. And sometimes love is simply about being real. If you love this transformation, you need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. And please comment below to share your reactions and feelings about this ending. You can also share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Every moment counts.